How does a country gain independence in 1960 but lose control of its richest resource by 1961? How does Africa's largest oil producer watch billions flow out while its people remain impoverished? Nigeria kicked out the British, wrote its own constitution, created a national oil company, declared all petroleum federal property. Yet multinationals control extraction. $300 billion disappeared since independence. The Niger Delta sits poisoned while Shell reports record profits. This isn't colonization through conquest. It's control through contracts, through corruption, through a system designed to look like sovereignty while functioning as extraction. The British left. The looting continued, just with better paperwork. This is neo-colonialism perfected. Welcome to economics of power. Oil was discovered in Nigeria in 1956 at Olobiri. Shell BP struck commercial quantities 4 years before independence. The timing was everything. In 1937, the British colonial government had granted Shell DRC exclusive exploration rights across the entire Nigerian territory, 357,000 square miles. Shell explored for decades, mapped the geology, identified the richest deposits, found nothing for years. Then suddenly, just before independence, massive discoveries. By 1960, when Nigeria became independent, Shell BP had already secured 46 oil mining leases covering 15,000 square miles, 30 to 40-year contracts, all the best locations, the prime fields in the Niger Delta. Nigerian politicians inherited a petroleum sector already carved up, already controlled, already contracted away for decades. Independence came with pre-existing obligations to foreign corporations. Sovereignty on paper, subordination in practice. The British diversified right before leaving. In 1955, Mobil got concessions. Early 1960s brought Gulf Oil, Tenneco, Agip, and Elf, all foreign companies. All granted access by Nigerian officials who just inherited power. Why allow this? Because Nigeria had zero technical capacity, no petroleum engineers, no exploration equipment, no refining technology, no international market access. Foreign companies offered a deal: we provide everything, you get 50% of profits. Sounds fair, except profit is whatever the company says it is. Production costs? Company reports it. Export volumes? Company measures it. Sale prices? Company negotiates it. The 50-50 split worked perfectly. For the companies, they controlled every number that determined the split. Nigeria got half of whatever they decided to share, and no ability to verify any of it. This is information asymmetry as imperial strategy. You don't need colonies when you control the accounting. 1971, Nigeria joined OPEC. 1977, created the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. NNPC would fix everything. State control, Nigerian interests first. Except NNPC was built to fail. Joint venture agreements required NNPC to contribute capital for exploration and production. Cash calls, billions annually. The government consistently couldn't pay. Design or dysfunction. The result was identical. NNPC perpetually short on cash. So Shell, Chevron, ExxonMobil funded NNPC's share, loaned the money. Then demanded repayment through tax breaks, favorable contract terms, interest charges, priority access. The joint venture became a debt trap. Nigeria owned majority stakes on paper, but foreign companies controlled operations, set budgets, managed production, handled sales, reported finances. NNPC collected whatever they said was owed, nationalization theater. Control remained exactly where it started, with those who found it first. Then came the corruption. Industrial scale, systematic. NNPC operated without transparency, no public audits, no independent verification, created offshore trading subsidiaries. These entities bought crude from NNPC, sold to international traders, pocketed the margin, never remitted proceeds to government. In 2013, Central Bank Governor Sanusi Lamido told President Jonathan that $20 billion vanished in 19 months. NNPC failed to account for revenue owed the state. Jonathan fired Sanusi for mismanagement. Senate committees dismissed the claims. But after Jonathan lost re-election, audits by PwC and Deloitte confirmed $20 billion actually missing. Between 2005 and 2012, $11.6 billion paid to NNPC with zero evidence of Federation remittance. Between 2009 and 2018, $41.9 billion lost to theft. Recent Senate investigation uncovered $303 billion in unaccounted proceeds since 2015, $300 billion gone. No prosecutions, no accountability, just missing. The theft mechanism is elegant. Joint ventures obscure everything. Companies report production costs. Costs reduce profit. Higher costs mean less profit to share. Nigeria lacks capacity to verify, so companies inflate expenses. Transfer pricing. Nigerian subsidiary buys equipment from parent company subsidiary at inflated prices. The cost increases. Taxable profit decreases. Government gets smaller share. Money stays in corporate structure, just moves between jurisdictions. Another method, production volume fraud. Companies own the meters. They report the barrels. Nigeria has no independent measurement. Underreport production by 10%. Pay royalties on 90%. Sell the other 10 through undisclosed channels. Keep entire proceeds. An NPC lacks technical systems to catch this. Even with suspicion, proving it requires expertise Nigeria doesn't have. The companies write the rules they'll be judged by, then judge themselves. Report the results. Collect the profits. Environmental devastation reveals the power structure. The Niger Delta produces all Nigerian oil. Shell has operated there since 1958, extracted $30 billion from Ogoniland alone. The Ogoni people number 550,000, farmers and fishermen. Their land became contaminated wasteland. Oil spills constantly, some puddles the size of football fields. Acid rain, gas flaring despite Nigerian law prohibiting it. Shell got permits under opaque circumstances. Government looked away. Oil revenue too important to threaten. In 1990, Ken Saro-Wiwa founded the Movement for the Survival of the Ogoni People, organized peaceful resistance. January 1993, 300,000 Ogoni marched, demanded compensation, environmental protection. Shell suspended operations, but didn't clean up. Pipelines remained, old infrastructure leaked, contaminated water, destroyed crops. Saro-Wiwa arrested in 94, charged with inciting murder of 4 chiefs. Military tribunal trial, widely condemned internationally. Executed November 10, 95. The Ogoni 9 hanged. Nigeria suspended from Commonwealth. International outrage. Shell paid $15.5 million in 2009 settlement. Admitted nothing. The execution exposed the truth. Nigerian government chose oil revenue over citizens. Shell faced 0 operational consequences. Production continued. The Niger Delta remains one of Earth's most polluted regions. 40% of mangroves destroyed. Life expectancy 10 years below national average. Hundreds of spills annually. In 2008 and 9, massive spills at Bodo. Shell repaired pipelines, but refused cleanup. Communities sued. In British courts. Not Nigerian. Because Nigeria's judiciary can't be trusted. World Justice Project ranks Nigeria 120th of 130 countries for judicial accountability. Only 36% of Nigerians trust judges. Shell eventually paid £88 million to various communities, every case heard abroad. In London, where the company is headquartered, not where the damage occurred, because Nigerian courts are captured. 65 years after independence, Nigerians need foreign courts for justice against foreign companies operating on Nigerian soil. This is sovereignty as fiction. Joint ventures create perverse incentives. NNPC partners with Shell. Any environmental fines are shared. Government pays part, so government has financial incentive to prevent enforcement, to grant permits despite violations, to ignore gas flaring, spills, contamination. Victims can't effectively sue government because judiciary is compromised. Can't sue companies effectively because government is co-liable and blocks prosecution. Companies designed this system. Nigeria adopted it. Result: near total impunity. The structure makes environmental protection economically irrational for the state. Every regulation costs the treasury. Every fine reduces revenue. Every enforcement action threatens partnership. This isn't corruption as deviation from the system. This is corruption as the system. The contracts require it. The joint ventures demand it. The revenue dependency enforces it. Foreign companies don't pay bribes to circumvent rules. They write rules that make corruption optimal strategy. Then Nigerian officials follow incentives the structure creates. Industrial theft operates openly, not locals stealing from pipelines. That's minimal. Real theft is organized. Syndicate of military officers working with NNPC officials and international buyers. Offshore tankers load crude through illegal connections. Barrels never enter records. Entire shipments vanish. Between 2009 and 2018, 41.9 billion stolen. Recent estimates suggest 200 billion unaccounted from 2015 onward. Investigations in Britain, America, Canada, uncovering offshore accounts, shell companies, corrupt officials. The central bank governor exposing 20 billion missing got fired. Officials raising alarms get removed. Those facilitating theft stay protected. NNPC created offshore subsidiaries functioning as middlemen. They buy Nigerian crude, flip it to traders, pocket margins, never remit. The entire apparatus exists for theft. Joint ventures provide cover, offshore entities provide structure, corruption provides access, foreign companies provide legitimacy through partnership. Everyone profits except Nigerians, and nobody with power wants it to stop. This happens without colonization because Nigeria controls its own military, passes its own laws, appoints its own officials, but economic structure inherited from colonialism stayed intact. Concessions granted before independence, locked in foreign control. Joint ventures maintain it. Inability to verify production, costs, sales perpetuates it. Corruption at every level optimizes it. Shell doesn't need to colonize Nigeria, just needs contracts written favorably, enforced by Nigerian officials whose interests align with extraction over development. This is control without conquest. You let foreign companies write terms, accept partnerships, relying on information asymmetry, allow offshore subsidiaries and middlemen, fail to build independent capacity, let corruption become structural, not incidental, prioritize short-term revenue over long-term sovereignty. The mathematics are brutal. 67 years exporting oil, several trillion in total crude value. Nigeria remains desperately poor, infrastructure collapsing, power unreliable, refineries broken despite being oil exporter, imports refined products, pays premium for fuel made from Nigerian crude, refined abroad, companies profit, traders profit, officials profit, foreign refineries profit, Nigerians get nothing. The Niger Delta is poisoned, people impoverished, wealth extracted. Everyone with power benefits. Politicians get bribes, military gets payoffs, NNPC officials get kickbacks, foreign companies get crude, traders get margins. Only losers are ordinary Nigerians, who breathe pollution, watch wealth extracted, flee violence over oil, see 300 billion stolen, zero accountability. System doesn't fail, it succeeds perfectly at actual purpose, extraction. Nigeria never lost control of oil. Control was never granted. Independence was juridical, not economic. Flag changed, anthem changed, passport changed, ownership stayed where it was, with those who found it. Control technology to extract it, own markets to sell it, write contracts governing it. Nigeria got participation, nominal stakes, revenue sharing on company-defined profits, illusion of control without power. This is neo-colonial achievement, making extraction look like partnership, theft look like sharing, destruction look like development, complete foreign control look like sovereignty. The British didn't need to stay. The system they built stayed. The companies they granted concessions stayed. The contracts they wrote stayed. That was enough. Independence without decolonization, sovereignty without control, empire without soldiers, just lawyers, accountants, contracts that look fair but function like colonial charters. Nigeria isn't colonized, it's captured. Same result, subsolar mechanism.